Yeah, you better watch this channel. You better watch all the videos. You better watch every single one right here at Good Mic Work Commentary. Do it. Do it now.
What's up, guys? Happy Monday to you. Welcome to your WWE Raw review and WWE Draft Night 2 review for October 4th, 2021. And I got to tell you, man, Raw tonight was not impressive. We did have some interesting picks, some surprising, some not surprising. The draft itself, I guess, was fine in terms of, who went where, but the show itself and some of the matches tonight and just some of the overall stuff was just a really flat Raw. I think the draft will help them. They'll probably pull in a decent number, I would think, because a lot of people had interest in that. But the show itself was kind of boring tonight. So right off the bat, I want to hear your grades. How would you rate the show tonight? 0 through 10, A, B, C, or D. Let me know in the chat, and let me know if I'm crazy or not. Is it just me, or did the show kind of suck? But the draft was interesting, so luckily we will have that to get into tonight. There is a lot to go through in terms of who Raw and SmackDown picked and who moved where, and some very strange names that were part of this draft on night 2 here. Incidentally, Raw Talk, I think, is going on right now, so there are going to be more draft picks made. We'll keep our eye on Twitter. If you guys see anything, let us know in the chat. We'll try to keep track of those as we go through the show here. But in terms of, some of the names that were involved tonight, it was a lot of, some of the stuff was just head-scratching. Like, I think it's a great opportunity for Hit Row to be called up and everything, but why them? And I have a very big problem with why some duos and teams and factions are drafted that way and some aren't. There doesn't seem to be any rules to say why is the New Day not drafted together but Hit Row is, or Commander Aziz and Apollo is, you know what I mean? So it's that sort of thing that's just super annoying with the draft. And I think the biggest name tonight, or not the biggest name, I think the biggest surprise that happened tonight was right at the very end in the final round when Monday Night Raw selects Gable Stevenson, the kid who just won the gold medal that WWE just signed. Now, he has shown interest in signing with WWE for quite some time. However, it wasn't, I think they brought him in at SummerSlam is what it was, and that's when he had the meeting with them, and I believe he signed right after that. So this guy's been signed on the dotted line for a matter of weeks. I don't even know if he's reported to the PC yet. I'm sure he has, but come on, like, before you draft this guy to Raw, just a crazy thought, idea. Let me know what you guys think of this. Do you think he should be, I don't know, trained first? Just a thought. I mean, I would personally train someone to be a professional wrestler before I'm drafting him to Raw, but that's just me. WWE cannot wait to get that gold medal shit back out there again. They just want to, they're never going to shut up about it. It's going to be so annoying. And he's probably going to be great. It's just, I think we should give him a chance to kind of get in the PC and get some reps and learn stuff. He obviously can wrestle. We know that, but amateur and pro wrestling are two very different things. And not everybody is Kurt Angle. So we got to make sure that this dude can even go. And they're drafting him to Raw already. Like, they can't, obviously, this isn't somebody who can be debuting on Raw for a little while, right? They're certainly not going to Mark Henry this guy and just throw him out there with 4 professional matches. I would think they're going to do a little bit more with him. So the fact that he's technically a Raw competitor now is interesting. And place your bets. How long until we actually see him on Raw? It's a really weird pick there. So, and some not so surprising ones with Carmella coming over as predicted and Seth and Becky following each other. We had a feeling that would be the case. And Kevin Owens making his token switch. I think he's moved in every single draft. So I think it's only a matter of time before he's coming out on Raw wearing a gas mask and doing all that crazy shit that Dean Ambrose did. And Sami Zayn was also sent to SmackDown, so maybe just out of spite, they know Owens is out the door. So just to add insult to injury, they're going to at least not let him travel with his friend. I don't know if they travel together on the road or not, but Owens and Sami being on the same brand is probably helpful for both of them, so naturally they're going to split them up. So interesting stuff, little tidbits in terms of who moved, but overall nothing overly surprising. And a lot of people feel like Raw got the better of the deal over SmackDown, but there is still time to even it out because, as we were told 56 separate times tonight by the announce team, the changes do not take effect until the night after Crown Jewel. They mentioned it a lot. So anywho, we'll go over to the chat. If we don't have a good audience in here, then I won't hang around long. We'll see how it goes and what you guys thought of the episode tonight. Probably not going to get good reviews from most of y'all either, based on what I was looking at on social media earlier on tonight. So anywho, we've got some super chats coming in early. I want to say hi to Divine Ricks. What's up, Tatanani? Thank you, man. Charlie is here. Zane G and George Morris right off the bat with the $5. Hey, Greg, 0 out of 10 for Raw. Kumiko to appear in Cobra Kai Season 4 and Rob Garrison / Tommy Episode 10 archive footage and some kid actor Young Johnny. Yeah, I have not read too much of the details yet on Season 4. A little bit. Know about Terry Silver and a few other things. Wasn't aware of Kumiko coming back. If Kumiko comes back, that means Chosen might come with her, and I would love to see Chosen get involved in a showdown with fucking Terry Silver or have Chosen and Johnny meet. That would blow my mind. So there's going to be a lot to talk about with Cobra Kai coming up at the end of the year. Deshaun Robinson's here. Thank God. What's up, dude? Martin Can is here. Antoine, what's up, man? Sex Machine. That makes 2 of us. Sunny Man, Jay Lambo, and Thomas Iridia. Thank you very much for the very generous $9.99 drop. Sorry, Greg, the draft and the brand split does matter because if the WWE ever does the wild card rule again, I will throw myself off a roof. That was so bad it made me quit wrestling until they stopped it. The wild card rule, they also called it, the brand-to-brand invitational, and then they called it, the Superstar Garage Sale, or I don't know. They came up with random names to basically just make up a reason for them to use talent on a particular brand. And another thing that was annoying as shit tonight is that, like I mentioned earlier, they were hammering into your head, like I said, 56 different times I heard them say, the changes don't take effect until after Crown Jewel. And then you get the Damien Priest-Jeff Hardy match, and who comes out at the end of it? Austin Theory. I thought the changes didn't take effect until Crown Jewel, and this fucker who's been drafted is out there. Why is he out there? They had the Ziggler and Rude out there. They weren't drafted to Raw at the time of them coming out there and confronting Big E and Drew McIntyre. Like, what is the point of the draft if you're literally mentioning a stipulation or a rule to the draft 56 different times and then you just break that rule, right? Oh, my God. Such a mess. Like, what is the point of this draft? It's so hokey. I think probably the funniest thing, the one that popped me, was when they drafted Gable Stevenson. They cut to his living room and it's just this tiny ass room. I guess his parents are there and they're making it look like it's the NFL draft where they all film the dudes at home. But usually they got an entourage of people, 100 people in the room. And it's just him and his parents, which was kind of cute. But at the same time, God, this is so bad. This is so bad. Is it Wednesday yet? Fuck me. But anyway, we'll be breaking it down as we go here. Finish up these shout outs and we'll get into it. Angie Law, thanks. Or hi. Excuse me, Michael Kumo, good to see you as well. Sonic Plays and Mike Witt and Holla Man, Nathan, Atomic Cody, Big J is here, Jose is here, Steven, Kevin, right on. Andy, good to see you, man. Thank you for the $2. What up, good mic work? WWE blew it with the Heyman and Usos drama, right? That was a very, very quick little way to pay that off. I mean, Roman made a very big deal about it on SmackDown that the Usos are to escort Heyman to Raw tonight to ensure that they get drafted over to SmackDown. And if they don't, then he wants them to leave Heyman for dead. And when they drafted the Usos, it was pretty funny when they cut backstage to the Usos, high-fiving each other. And you can see Heyman in the background looking up, going thank you, thank you. So he lives another day. They would do an interview later where that little interview guy that did the crab walk that was all over the Twitter. I forget what that guy's name is, the little interview guy. But he brings up Brock Lesnar's free agency, and that kind of turns the Usos a little bit on Heyman. So Heyman is still on very thin ice with the bloodline. I don't know where this is going to go. Heyman said there were going to be twists and turns in this story. So Heyman could very well turn on Roman and align with Brock at Crown Jewel, or maybe all of this dissension is the bloodline's way to throw Brock off. Brock thinks he's gotten in their head, but really it's part of a bigger plan, and they're fooling him, and really Heyman, Roman, and the Usos are all on the same page. That could be a possibility, I suppose, too. And then, of course, the one possibility that I mentioned a long time ago that has about a 0% chance of happening, but would be awesome, is if you did a 2021 or 22 version of the two-man power trip. that Austin and Triple H had with Vince in the middle, and you do Brock and Roman with Heyman in the middle. Imagine if they've each got a world title. Might be fun. I'm just saying. So anyway, I think that tonight they could have done a little bit more with Usos and Heyman, but they're saving that for SmackDown. I mean, that's business that shouldn't really be conducted on Raw anyway, but they could have done a deal where they did draft Usos to Raw and then they beat the hell out of Heyman. Who knows? And then maybe Brock came out to save him. Who knows? But yeah, there's more to be written with that story for sure. And Ronnie, good to see you, man. I'm glad you're here. Alan Barkley, good to see you as well. Right on. All right, so we will get into Raw here and start running down the results. I kind of debated on how to do this when we talked about the SmackDown draft. I ran through all of the picks first, and this time I think we'll just kind of go through as the show went here because it was multiple rounds. By the way, cheers, and shout out to Stone Cold Steve Austin. His great, delicious Broken Skull IPA is wonderful, so if you guys have a cold one, cheers to you. Happy Monday. And we'll get into some of this madness here. So anyway, WWE Raw tonight from Nashville is where they were. Becky Lynch opens up the show, so she just flat out comes out. Now, we talked in detail on Saturday on the podcast about the draft. So if you want to hear all my thoughts on that and some of my complaints about it and some of the shit that doesn't make sense, you can go back to Saturday's episode and check that out. It's also downloadable on the website in audio form. And what I found odd is that they broke up the pools, or they had two separate pools for Raw and SmackDown, which is fine. I don't mind the pools, but they didn't explain who was in what pool and how those wrestlers are chosen, if it's random or if it's balanced out. But basically, they had 3 out of your 4 world champions in one pool and then Becky Lynch by herself. So it just makes it like a little bit too obvious what they're going to do. Because SmackDown got the first pick on Friday night. They chose Roman. So you go through that entire draft. Becky Lynch is not chosen yet. She's in the Raw pool. Raw gets the first pick tonight. How do they not pick Becky Lynch? So basically just kind of confirmed that she's going to be heading over to Raw. Now they could do some other stuff like swap some belts, but I don't think so. I think Becky and Seth are going to be on Raw permanently, and they're going to have to do a deal where Charlotte and Becky do what the Street Profits and the New Day did, and they're like, here you go, and just swap it unless Sasha wins the belt at Crown Jewel and takes it over to SmackDown, and then maybe somebody beats Charlotte and brings the belt to Raw, but I think it's probably going to be a belt swapping type of ordeal, and the two of them were all over this show tonight. So Becky opens the show, and she declares that she is on Raw now. So she's already jumped the gun. She's saying that she's drafted, although there was no confirmation of this. So she's on Raw now, blah, blah, blah. Charlotte comes out, and she's got her belt, and she starts shitting on Becky and takes credit for Becky becoming a star. If it weren't for me, you wouldn't be who you are. Seemed to be the theme of the night. Ziggler had some great things to say later on. That, of course, prompts Bianca Belair to come out, and just all this just cheesy dialogue. It's the same shit with this fucking company, you know, so they all run each other down a little bit, and Becky goes on to suggest that Bianca and Charlotte Flair have a match tonight because they've never faced, but they have. They faced in NXT one-on-one at least once, maybe more than that. I think maybe even a triple threat as well. So they're no strangers. And Becky thinks they should face each other tonight, which then prompts Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville to come out to the stage and say, you know what, good idea, we'll go with that. Charlotte and Bianca Belair will be your main event for Raw tonight. And they also go on to announce that Natalya and Tamina will get yet another crack at the tag team champions, Nikki Ash and Rhea Ripley. So they're going to do that again. Yay. And then right after that, I think we might have gone to a commercial. We come back, and it's time for round 1. And that's when Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville start off round 1 with Raw's first pick, and they confirm what Becky said in her promo at the start of the show. She is the first pick of night 2, and Becky is now officially on Monday Night Raw. Then the SmackDown brand selects the Usos. So they were SmackDown's first pick. Heyman was there to make sure of that, and that was probably likely. He basically just had to make sure that SmackDown picked them first because he knew Becky was going to go first, so Heyman was probably in a pretty good situation there. Camera, of course, cuts backstage, and Heyman's thanking whatever God he prays to for sparing his life this time, but it might not be over yet. And then Raw, next we'll select Bobby Lashley, so Lashley stays on Raw. I was kind of hoping he'd move to SmackDown, just something fresh for him. But then again, Drew went over there, so it might be too much Raw main event stuff transferring over to the other show. So I guess I'm cool with him sticking around, but would have also been cool with him and the Hurt Business heading over to SmackDown. And then SmackDown after that would pick Sasha Banks. So round one was Becky and Lashley to Raw, Usos and Sasha Banks to SmackDown. And then we would get a U.S. title match. Got water and beer. This is great. I'm set. So anyway, they would do this throughout the show, but before each round of picks, they would have whoever's out there for their next segment, whether it be a match or a promo, come out first, make their entrance, then we'd go to commercial, then we'd come back and have the round of picks, and then we'd go back to the ring. So like 3 or 4 times tonight, some poor schmuck, I know Jeff Hardy and Big E, had to come out there and just sit in the ring and fucking wait. Probably super annoying. So anyway, after that, we get Damien Priest versus Jeff Hardy, another U.S. title match. Jeff Hardy's wrapping up his last couple of weeks on Raw before he heads to SmackDown. Another kind of babyface deal here. Priest, of course, gets the win to retain the title by reversing kind of a roll-up type of deal on Jeff, getting the pin. Nice little show of respect at the end between the babyfaces. Priest gives Jeff a little fist bump or hug or whatnot, and he leaves. And then Jeff Hardy is interviewed in the ring about leaving SmackDown, and he hints that he's going to be changing up his persona a little bit on SmackDown. He goes, SmackDown is a new beginning for me and maybe a chance for SmackDown to experience a different ego or something like that. He mentioned ego. So he might be doing his alter ego. Was it Willow or what the fuck is it? That weird ass shit he did in TNA? I don't know. He could be doing that, or he might have a completely different, weirder idea. I mean, somebody Jeff's age, wrestling Jeff's style, if he wants to prolong his career in any way, it's like kind of like his brother Matt, he might have to go in some weirder directions to where, what he's doing in the ring isn't really the focus of his gimmick anymore. And Matt did that. So maybe Jeff's going to go in to do something a little bit weird, or he's going to do that Willow thing or whatever it was. The goofy shit with the mask, I forgot. But anyway, that might be coming to SmackDown. He hinted at that, so that's interesting. And then, like I complained about earlier, Austin Theory from NXT comes out. Now, WWE went on to tell us how many times, kids? 56 separate times, that the changes don't take effect until the night after Crown Jewel. So Austin Theory, who is an NXT star, comes out here. But the changes don't take effect until when? After Crown Jewel. But here he is. And I was worried about Austin Theory. I kind of like what I saw from him here, but I was worried that WWE would almost like have no clue how kind of funny he really was in NXT. He was getting pretty over. He was entertaining me, and he was kind of almost, I don't know if he really had a shell to come out of, but I was starting just to take notice of him during his time in the way. And I thought, he worked really well with Gargano and Candice and everything. So coming up to the main roster, of course, WWE's not going to give a shit about any of that, probably even be aware of it. But what he did here, coming out to interrupt Hardy. He apologized for interrupting him. He says that Hardy was his favorite wrestler and he inspired him to become a wrestler, and wants to know if he can take a selfie with him. And Jeff Hardy, who's been a pro wrestler for 25 years, doesn't see that this is probably going to be some kind of a setup or whatnot. So sure enough, Jeff Hardy's like, okay, and he gives the guy a selfie. And then Austin Theory, of course, nails Jeff with a clothesline, kicks his ass, and then lays down next to him and takes a selfie of the both of them, which I loved. So far, so good with Austin Theory. I don't know how it's going to work out with him, but he was pretty funny there. But still, why did you debut him? You made such a big deal about the night after Crown Jewel, and here you are breaking your own damn rule that you won't shut the fuck up about. Only WWE can do this. Only they can hammer a rule into your head only to break it multiple times right after they say it to you. So super annoying there. Welcome to Raw, Austin Theory. After that, we go backstage. RK Bro interview. Randy Orton's back, so no issue there. He was absent again last week, and he was absent during the summer. And Riddle, of course, rambles. He was pretty funny, and he talks about how bad last week sucked because Randy wasn't there, but he's looking good, and he was probably working out with all his time off or whatnot. Orton seems pretty pissed, and he just flat out challenges Omos to a match. So he wants to face Omos. He said it's time to sink or swim for the big guy and says, meet me in the ring later, basically. And then we go back to the stage for round 2 of the draft. So Raw is up first, and they select Seth Rollins. So that was a possibility. We talked about that over the weekend. And I said, I think Becky and Seth are going to have to be on the same show. They are new parents, and if they're on separate brands, that means when one is home, the other's on the road, they will never see each other. So you just have to keep them on the same brand. So Becky was either going to hop back over to SmackDown somehow, or Seth was going to have to follow her. And that's great because Edge is there too. And I think you can continue whatever the hell you do at Crown Jewel and maybe do some sort of a blow off of that whole situation on Raw, unless Crown Jewel turns out to be the blow-off. SmackDown was up next, and they get to pick a duo. They picked Nakamura, and it looked like Boogs was with him. So for some reason, those two are a duo. Just another example of why this shit doesn't make any sense. And then Raw is up next, and they select Damien Priest. He's another guy that I was kind of hoping would move to SmackDown. I don't know why. I just kind of thought he'd be good there on Fox, and he's done a lot on Raw with the Bad Bunny stuff all year, and he's had a solid run as champion. I kind of thought they'd move him, but they didn't. They chose to move Sheamus instead, and that's who SmackDown picked next. Sheamus is heading over back to the blue brand, and he'll probably be trying to start some shit with Nakamura and contend for the IC title, and will probably win it over there, to be honest. So they're just going to reset Sheamus over on the blue brand and do everything they did with him this past year on Raw, and probably just do it over there. He might even give Roman a run for his money. Who knows? I'd be into that. Just give Sheamus a good match against Roman, take him to the limit, and Roman beats him. Sure. Just like he did for McIntyre. After that, we had another murdering. Shayna Baszler taking on Dana Brooke. So that's just like tossing a dead chicken into a lion's den. And Shayna makes quick work of poor Dana Brooke and chokes her out in a matter of seconds, and then continues to attack her after the match and gets her on the outside of the ring and is about to do to her what she's been doing to everybody else, Nia Jax and Eva Marie. And before she can have a chance to break the arm of Dana Brooke, Doudrop comes out. Doudrop comes out skipping, gets right in Shayna Baszler's face. I kind of like that, and didn't back down from her at all. And then, like a fool, turns her back on Shayna, who then clubs her real hard on the back. And Doudrop just kind of no-sells it. Reminded me of Andre the Giant on Saturday Night's Main Event one year, or one night. Excuse me. He was choking out Hogan, and somebody came in with a chair. I think it was Hacksaw. He had his 2x4, and he whacked Andre on the back, and he just no-sold it and looked at him. It reminded me of that. And Doudrop just kind of stared at Shayna, like, watch yourself, girl, or whatever. And Shayna kind of backed off. Little stare down between them. I liked it, and I liked it even more because Shayna would get moved in the draft here a little bit later on. So they had a little stare down here, and that was the end of that. After the commercial break, we get another tag team match. This time, Mansoor and Ali taking on Humberto Carrillo and Angel Garza again, and Garza and Carrillo got the win there, and I believe they would remain here on the same brand after this, or did they get moved? I'll have to check my notes here in a minute, but I didn't pay too much attention to that match, and that brought us to round 3. So let me finish up these picks, then we'll hop over to the chat, and we'll see if WWE's made any other picks here on social media. But anyway, in round 3, Raw was up first with AJ Styles, so he's sticking around on Raw. SmackDown selected a lot of women here. This pick, they picked Shayna Baszler, who we just saw, mutilating poor Dana Brooke. So Shayna is now on SmackDown. And then Raw selected Kevin Owens. So Owens, of course, hops over now to Raw. They've separated him and Sammy to at least make his traveling life as miserable as possible until he hops over to AEW. And I'm not looking forward to what they do to poor Kevin Owens on Raw. And then over on SmackDown, they select Xia Li. Now, we mentioned Xia Li on Saturday because we heard about the dark match that she had worked with Dakota Kai. And I'm like, I think they're both ready. I really like the transformation that Xia Li underwent in NXT. I like this character. She's a really tough little badass, and I like her. And Dakota Kai is, virtually a veteran at this point. So I think they're both ready for main roster. We'll see if Dakota turns up in one of these extra picks here later on. So let me cruise over here and see if anybody's got some picks for us here. Raw Talk just said Liv Morgan is on Raw. Okay. Yeah, some of those picks we know. Bobby Lashley to Raw, Sami Zayn to SmackDown. Yeah, Shotzi has been drafted to SmackDown. Hopefully Tegan will stay with her. Jinder has been drafted to SmackDown. Ah, shit. So Jinder's following McIntyre. Carrillo and Garza got drafted to SmackDown, if you're not mistaken. I think you're right. I'll come up to that. I've got it if it happened, I've got it in my notes. I just can't remember. All right, let me go over here to WWE's Twitter, see what they got to say about this. Bailey, I forgot about Bailey. She's a free agent, she says. WWE retweeted her. Okay, so Raw has got Liv Morgan. I see that. And that's all I see so far. But I'm not watching Raw talk, so I'm just hoping WWE kind of announces it on their Twitter or whatnot. So they separated Shotzi and Tegan after they beat the tag team champions a bunch of times. You know what? That's funny, Martin. What they can probably do there. Well, no, they probably won't do that. I don't think they're going to drop the belts. But if the changes don't take effect until after Crown Jewel, Shotzi and Tegan could essentially still win the tag team titles. It's just when they lose them, they're going to have to separate and go to separate brands. They could do that. They haven't found themselves in that situation yet. That could be interesting. And yeah, Shelton Benjamin and Cedric and MVP are going to have to stay there. I'm not sure. I mean, the draft was kind of over tonight, so like what the hell? They're going to have to finish up these picks now. So maybe they'll come in as we talk about the show here. And once we get to the end of it, we'll hang around, we'll answer some questions and see if WWE has announced any more picks, because there is still quite a bit of talent that has not been selected yet for these shows. Anyway, what was after round 3? Like I said, Raw picked up AJ and Kevin Owens, and SmackDown got Shayna Baszler and Xia Li. After that, we got a Big E promo. So Big E's in the ring, and he's there to basically discuss Drew McIntyre, who kind of confronted him the other week and made it known that he wants a shot at the title. So he talks a little bit about Drew. Drew McIntyre comes out and says it's a Drew day. Yes, it is. And goes on to say a lot of nice things about Big E, how he deserves it, and says, I know you were waiting for me to tweet to you, and you were checking your Twitter every day to see if I congratulated you, but I wanted to do it face-to-face like a man, because you do deserve it. But then again, technically, Lashley was hurt, and when you cashed in, which I maintain if anybody gives Big E shit for that, he should say, fuck you. I went on social media the night before. I went on Raw. I got in everybody's face. Anybody that would listen, I said, I am cashing this briefcase in tonight, no matter what. It's not his fault that Lashley was an idiot and got himself injured. So Big E should tell Drew to go fuck himself. After that, after Drew talks a little bit of smack, but was also very respectful, he winds up officially challenging Big E to a title match, which we figured would be the case, and that would probably happen at Crown Jewel. So I think they go on to have the match first. He doesn't accept right away. They just kind of look at each other, and that's when the Dirty Dogs come out. So Bobby Roode and Dolph Ziggler come out, which is weird. I don't know why the hell they're there. Dolph Ziggler takes credit for Big E because, of course, Big E got to start with Dolph, at least on the main roster, all those years ago. Also takes credit for Drew's rise because they were a pairing as well. And McIntyre's like, boy, you really stepped up your game. You went from us to this guy. And he said, don't you disrespect Big Bob, which I thought was funny. And Ziggler was actually quite good in this promo. It's just like, first of all, what the hell are they doing there? And second of all, this is this annoying common trope that they always do whenever two babyfaces have a title match coming up. What do they have to do? They have to team together on Raw. They have to coexist. And I thought for sure in this match we would see an accidental Claymore. One guy would accidentally hit the other, and then they'd start beefing and pushing and shoving each other. Thought for sure that would be the case, but that didn't happen. They go down to lay down the challenge to the two of them for the tag team match after the break. I think we come back and we get Big E and Drew versus the Dirty Dogs, and we didn't get the miscommunication like we thought. I thought for sure that they would do that here. They'll probably do it next week when they team again, but here it was a pretty clean win, and after the match, Big E officially Drew accepted the challenge from from Drew McIntyre. I'm lost here. Big E accepts the challenge from Drew McIntyre, I should say. That match should be official for Crown Jewel. It wasn't official there. It was just kind of agreed upon between the two. And I think WWE's made it official since then if they announced it tonight, but it's going to happen. Big E versus McIntyre for the title. And hopefully, this is just a good solid win and title defense for Big E. I don't even know if I want to see too much of a schmoz here or what. I think Big E needs to put some guys down. He was able to beat Bobby Lashley in the cage match. I think a victory over Drew here at Crown Jewel would be helpful to him, and I hope he just kind of wins this match clean when it does wind up happening. It should be a big statement win for Big E. So we'll see what happens at Crown Jewel, but I would assume no matter what they do, whether Big E wins clean or not, Big E will remain champion after Crown Jewel. I don't think Drew's going to win that title and take it to SmackDown. Doesn't seem like something they're going to do. So hopefully, since Big E's going to take the title and keep the title anyway, just have him beat Drew McIntyre. You know what I mean? Drew will be fine. Be reborn again on SmackDown the very following week, so it will be fine. Didn't really watch any of the Reginald shit. He got away again, being chased for the 24/7 title. He did run into Apollo Crews and Commander Aziz, who were backstage, so we should be seeing Apollo soon, but like, what the fuck are they there for? You know, they were already drafted, and the changes, don't take effect until after Crown Jewel. So what the hell are they doing there? Just why do they even have to be there? They're not supposed to be there until after Crown Jewel. Like, what are they doing? Like, this shit makes no sense. Even I would hope that a 6-year-old is at home, like looking at his mom or dad, being like, "Can you believe this shit? This makes no fucking sense at all, Dad. Is it bedtime yet? Jesus." So anyway, Reginald gets away. After that, it's round 4 of the draft. So for round 4, Raw's up first, and they select the Street Profits. So the Street Profits are back again on Monday Night Raw. I kind of thought they might split them. Montez Ford had a hell of an outing against Roman Reigns on SmackDown, and I thought that might have been a little bit of a test to see if this guy could maybe handle a singles push. I believe that he can, and I'm kind of glad that they didn't split them up, but I still think if a split happens, Montez has a big future as a single star. So we'll see. Street Profits are back on Raw. SmackDown selected Viking Raiders after that. So fine. Viking Raiders are on SmackDown now. And then Raw picked Finn Balor. I cannot believe he was still on the board this late. And they picked up Balor. Now, he came after Owens, which is kind of interesting. I'm surprised WWE didn't make Owens and Zayn the final 2. So Balor actually got selected after Kevin Owens, which is a little weird, but Balor is now on Monday Night Raw. And then SmackDown selected Ricochet. So that's kind of cool. We'll see if that translates into anything for that poor guy on SmackDown. It would be nice to see him at least in the IC title mix or something on that show. But just because you're on a new show doesn't mean you're going to be pushed any differently. So until something happens decent with Ricochet, he's probably not going to be doing much at all. After that, we got the tag team titles on the line again. Nikki ASH and Rhea Ripley defending against Natalya and Tamina. Champs got the win. Nikki pinned Tamina for the victory. Retained the titles. Match what it was what it was. Completely pointless. Didn't need to see it. Don't even know why Tamina and Natalya got another title shot. And hopefully that's the end of that nonsense. And we'll see who Rhea and Nikki go over to SmackDown and face, but I do think it's an interesting concept there that they could actually have Shotzi and Tegan still win these titles, even though they are on separate brands, because these changes aren't supposed to, you know the drill. Anyway, after that, it's time for round 5 of the draft. Sonya and Adam on the stage to announce that Raw is going to select Karrion Kross. So great. Karrion Kross remains on Raw. I was really hoping that SmackDown would draft the helmet, but they didn't. So Kross and helmet will both be staying on Monday Night Raw. SmackDown would then select, like we talked about earlier in the chat that I wasn't sure about, Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo. Raw would decide to keep Alexa Bliss. So their 2 picks were people that were already there. Karrion Kross and Alexa Bliss will be staying on Raw, and SmackDown finishes up round 5 by electing to keep Cesaro. Cesaro is another name. I was kind of low-key hoping he'd jump to Raw. Not that, like I just said a minute ago, just because you mean switch shows doesn't mean you're going to be pushed or used any differently, but I thought Raw might be fun for Cesaro. I'd like to watch him on Monday nights, but he's going to be sticking around on SmackDown, so we'll see what winds up happening with Cesaro. Then we go to the ring for an advertised Goldberg promo. He was booked for the show tonight, where he was obviously going to be calling out Bobby Lashley and probably was going to set up their Crown Jewel match, which we all know is imminent. So he comes out and flaps his gums, and then Lashley comes out and he winds up agreeing to the match at Crown Jewel under one condition, that it's a no DQ match, which was really interesting because I think that's what Goldberg wanted. Goldberg's been cutting these promos how he's literally going to murder, kill, make dead Bobby Lashley for what he did to his son. And then Lashley's like, I'll only fight you under the condition that it's no DQ. Goldberg's probably like, yeah, that's what I've been saying, dumbass. So anyway, Lashley basically begs for the one stipulation that Goldberg already wanted, which is just silly. And then basically just goes on to say, you're next and you're dead. So they've been really saying dead a lot. And they've been saying shit. Times are changing, man. NXT's all pornographic. Crazy times we're living in. So anyway, that match is basically set. It's Goldberg and Lashley at Crown Jewel. Lashley goes on to say, you can't kill him. And that's when the Hurt Business, Cedric and Shelton, still no explanation as to why they're back together, but they're back together. They jump Goldberg, and of course he makes pretty easy work of them, and Lashley backs off. Lashley and Goldberg now official. The only good thing about this is that there's no title on the line. If they want to do some silly-ass match, good luck to Lashley. May God have mercy on your Saudi Arabia soul, because whenever that bald fucker goes over there to wrestle a match, he stinks out the entire country. So, man, don't get killed in there. Don't let this fool jackhammer you. And just stay alive. That's all I ask. Good luck to Lashley carrying poor Goldberg in that match. I worry that it's just going to be really, 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 really horrible. So we'll see what happens and how long it is. And Goldberg's probably going to beat him and pin him. And that's just dandy. Get a Seth Rollins promo next. He's backstage, seems very happy to be on Monday Night Raw. Of course, he's fresh off his B&E, although I guess it wasn't B&E on SmackDown. It was just E. He just entered. He didn't break anything. He went in and made himself at home at Casa de Edge and drank his orange juice and made fun of his kids' artwork and had a great time in Asheville, North Carolina. I hope he tried out some good barbecue while he was there. He's back tonight in Nashville. It doesn't have bad barbecue either. And is laughing and giggling like a fucking fool. And the little guy who's interviewing him tries to mention Edge, and Seth's like, nope, don't even mention his name. Tonight's a celebration. I'll deal with Edge later. So we'll see. I guess they'll continue their deal on SmackDown here. They'll have their Crown Jewel match, and then it'll either be over, and they'll both be on separate paths heading into the Raw brand, or they will blow everything off when they get over to Raw. Not sure how that's going to go yet. I personally would not complain about a four-match program between these two guys. I'm more than willing to put up with 4 matches from them. I think 3 would be fine, but if they give me a 4th, sure, no problem. I like them both. After that, we get the New Day taking on Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander after they both got roughed up a bit by Bill Goldberg. New Day got the win. Xavier, I think he pinned Cedric. I think it might have been Shelton. I can't remember which one he pinned, but Xavier scored the pin, and then he screams in the camera to king me, king me, king me. So Xavier's been politicking hard to be the king of the ring. I think most fans feel like WWE should probably give him that one unless it becomes an annual thing. They've probably got some time, and they don't necessarily have to do it this year, but come on, you got to give Xavier the crown, right? And then after that, the Street Profits come out. They're now on Raw, of course, but I don't know if you guys heard WWE, they were kind of subtle about it, but they mentioned to us that these changes don't take effect until after Crown Jewel. I'm not sure if you heard them say that, but they did. So I'm not sure why the Street Profits came out there like everybody else did. So anyway, Profits are out there. Basically, they just came out to say they want the smoke, and they gave Kofi a drink, and he drank it, and they hopped around, and commercial. There you go. After that, we get Randy Orton coming out to the ring. He's ready for his showdown with Omos. Calls out Omos. Omos comes out, but he's got AJ with him. AJ's on the mic, makes excuses, and for why Omos will not get in the ring, and says that they're going to win the tag team titles from them at Crown Jewel. And then basically they reveal that the whole thing was kind of a setup by Randy and Riddle to sucker in Omos and AJ and kind of get a little extra one-up on them and some momentum heading into their title match. And AJ finds himself getting suckered in the ring, and then he gets nailed with an RKO, and just a little mind games between the two teams. So that was what it was. But Omos was very pissed at the end, and it was the most emotion I've seen out of him so far, the way he was screaming and yelling at Randy Orton. So we'll see where that leads. Omos is going to get his hands on Orton at some point. Should be interesting. After that, we're back to the stage for round 6 of the draft. Raw selects Carmella with their first pick of round 6, so that's not surprising. I've been calling for Carmella to jump to Raw to be with Corey for quite a while. And then we get a couple of weird ones. SmackDown selects Ridge Holland, which is not that much of a surprise. He was extremely impressive when he debuted, but then he had that catastrophic knee injury, and he was out for like a year, and now he's kind of just come back. So I think they're just so impressed with him. They, it's not the first time that they've brought people up a bit early from NXT. You know who I thought was brought up early from NXT? Apollo Crews. He's grown now since he's been on the roster for a while. He's perfectly capable. I thought he was a little bit early. I thought Dana Brooke was early. I thought Alexa Bliss came up a little bit early. So it's nothing new for WWE to do this. They like Ridge Holland. They see potential in him, so they're bringing him up. And speaking of potential, probably unlimited potential, is Gable Stevenson, who Raw selects just out of the blue, totally random. A guy that's, if he has reported to the PC, he's only been there for a few weeks, not even maybe, and he's as green as you get from a professional wrestler standpoint. Luckily, he's an Olympic gold medalist, but that does not mean that you are Kurt Angle. Not everybody can take to wrestling the way Kurt did. So I think we need to at least see what this kid can do first. Not everybody is Kurt, not everybody is Brock, and for them to draft him to Raw here is so bizarre to me, because I'm like, do you just want to be able to not shut the fuck up about his gold medal? Is that what you want? Do they want to get him on Raw early to cut a promo? Just so they show the medal, bring the medal. They're going to want him to bring the medal everywhere he goes, of course. And the hilarious, I don't know why I got such a big kick out of this, but the hilarious cut to his living room with his parents where they're trying to make it like a college football draft where, they're in the home of the poor little fucker that's going to college, and it's just so stupid. God. So anyway, I'm extremely excited about Gable Stevenson and his pro wrestling career. I can't wait to see what he can do. I can't wait to see how he progresses. And I think, hopefully, you would think if one wins a gold medal, you should be pretty fucking capable and be able to pick up pro wrestling pretty good. And who knows, this guy very well could be a future world champion one day. But man, you talk about hot shot, and Jesus Christ, can you get this guy in the ring first and, I don't know, have him run the ropes? And then we can talk about moving him to Raw or SmackDown. So anyway, I found that to be odd. Gable Stevenson over to Raw. And then SmackDown, with the final pick of the night, selects Sami Zayn dead last. Although he's not really dead last, because we have a lot more coming up. How Weezy has got a big update for us here. So let's read this. Thank you, man, for doing this dedicated research for us, brother. Raw gets Liv Morgan, Mia Yim. How about that? Tamina, Tegan Nox, Dana Brooke, The Miz, Dolph Ziggler, Robert Roode. So they did get drafted to Raw. Cedric Alexander and Shelton will stay with Bobby Lashley. That's good. Jackson Riker, yippee. Veer, Smacked, and Veer. Okay, so they split up Veer and Shanky, huh? And SmackDown gets Natalya, Shotzi, Jinder Mahal, and Shanky. Okay, so Tamina and Natty are split up. Fine, they were a stupid team. Shotzi and Tegan were split up, although Shotzi and Tegan, I think, would be cool if they won the titles. All right, thank you for that. Interesting. Morgan, Yim, Tamina, Nox, Brooke. It's a lot of women there for Raw. And Miz, Ziggler, Rude, Cedric, and Shelton rounding them out. Oh, and Jackson and Veer. Wow. Interesting. Notable free agents. Thank you for that, Deshaun. John Cena, Bayley, Goldberg, Asuka, Eva Marie, Elias, Lucha House Party. All right, they still got to go places. Bayley, free agent, huh? So, and that's another thing. Like, they sometimes do that in the draft. If you are injured, they kind of just forget about you because they don't want to draft you. They want to wait until you're healthy so they can decide where you should be. So whenever you get injured, it usually eliminates and wipes you, whatever brand you're associated with, completely clean, like just clean slate. When you get injured, it's like all of a sudden where you were drafted doesn't matter. How the hell did Edge get to SmackDown? Was he drafted there? He was on Raw last time we saw him, right? With the Randy Orton stuff. And the next thing you know, he's just on SmackDown now. How did that happen? I don't even know how that was all about, but he just showed up there because he was injured. He was gone for a while. Or no, did he win the Oh, no, he won the Rumble. Okay, so at least they had a reason for Edge. But you know what I mean? When Bayley comes back, there's no guarantee she's going to be on SmackDown. She could easily just show up on Raw and be like, I'm here now, which would be fine. I don't care where Bayley shows up. Let's just have her back. Any word? How long she's been gone? I'm curious in the rehab situation with her injury, if there's any word on that. I can't even remember when she got injured, but hopefully she's coming back real soon. Yeah, Cross and Helmet both got drafted. I was really hoping they would separate Karrion Kross and the Helmet in the draft, but they didn't. They didn't make anything. They didn't do anything I wanted them to do. Did we mention Nia Jax in the free agents? She has not been drafted yet, right? Yeah, and she might be going to SmackDown because Shayna Baszler went to SmackDown. So you would think that they're not just going to have Shayna snap Nia Jax's arm and then just split them up or whatever. What the fuck is the point? So, yeah, you're right. I think Nia Jax will head over to Blue. And Killicam 0714, thank you for the $2. I believe they are. Prior to tonight, when we talked about it over the weekend, I thought maybe that Charlotte and Becky could still drop the belts before the changes take effect, but the way everything is shaping up now, I suppose Sasha Banks could win at Crown Jewel and take the title over there, so SmackDown has the belt back, but that means Charlotte would have to drop the belt to someone on Raw, which might be Bianca Belair. I don't know. So they'd have to do it that way, but I have a feeling we're headed for the same situation we got with New Day and Street Profits, where you get a segment backstage with Adam and Sonya, you get Becky, you get Charlotte, and you're like, trade. If I was Becky, I'd wipe mine off with Purell first, or wipe hers off when she handed it to me or something. But they might just swap the belts, and that's probably what they're going to do, which I complained about over the weekend. It's not a big deal, especially today in today's WWE, how just messed up and convoluted and stupid and nonsensical everything is. Why I would even remotely care why they do that, I don't have no idea. I don't know why it bothers me so much, but you know, I kind of still hold title histories, title legacies a little bit sacred. You know, I've been watching wrestling forever, and just to see belts so willy-nilly, I don't like it, and it confuses the title history, and like I said, the tag team situation is an absolute mess. I don't know. I don't even think the titles exist now, but the tag team titles from the 80s in the WWE that Gurria and Santana and the Samoans and the Bulldogs and the Hearts, Demolition, that tag team title, which title lineage traces back to that? The Raw tags or the SmackDown tags? You know, because for a while we had the World tags and the WWE tags like in the mid-2000s, and I just kind of lost track of like where the title history's branched off, you know, and if that title belt is even around at this point. So the tag belts have become such a mess. I don't want to see that happen to the women's titles, but, you know, these days, does record keeping fucking matter at all? If you want that shit, luckily, there's another wrestling promotion out there that tends to care a little bit more about that stuff. So at least we've got options now. But the draft never makes much sense, and the title belt situation never makes much sense. And the whole thing is just a big damn mess. That leaves us with the main event. Pretty good one here on paper. Bianca Belair taking on Charlotte. They have faced each other before. They had a decent match back in NXT a year and a half ago or so, I think, back when Charlotte was the NXT champion. Match was pretty decent. It was hard to concentrate on it because Becky was on commentary, just being hugely obnoxious, but also pretty funny. Very odd makeup that she was wearing, and just wouldn't shut the fuck up, just commending herself and giving herself credit for everything. It was actually quite funny, although lots of Becky chants tonight. Fans were positively reacting to her, which isn't what you want out of your top women's heel, you know what I mean? So she's out there just running her mouth on commentary the entire time, and Bianca is able to hit Charlotte with the KOD and is basically about to get the win clean on Charlotte, and Becky hops off commentary, grabs Bianca Belair and pulls her out before referee can count to 3. Of course, calls for the bell, disqualification. Then Becky continues to attack Bianca Belair until she is attacked from behind by Sasha Banks from SmackDown, who tonight on Raw was drafted to SmackDown. And I understand that a lot of the talent was there for the purposes of the draft, but why do you make why am I going to rehash that? You guys know about the whole changes taking effect thing. And what I also found funny is that every time they made a pick, it's like the camera cut to some weird corner of the arena where whatever wrestler they just drafted is just like standing there by themselves going, ooh, yeah. Like it's just so fucking dumb. At least back in the day, like the first one, they had everybody in the room all sitting there. At least do that. Well, I guess you don't want to have social distancing. I understand. But it was just like, why is every single wrestler in their own corner completely secluded from everything else when these drafts picks are made? And it's just the silliest shit. So anyway, Sasha attacks both, backstabber to Becky. She stands tall to close the show, and they basically closed Raw with a Smackdown angle that involves two future Raw competitors, but who are now currently on SmackDown. Bianca Belair wrestled tonight on Raw, even though the changes don't take. Where's my beer? Jesus Christ. Anywho, so that was all happening tonight. What a mess. I don't understand this company. It's just, they are so up their own asses. And half of the shit they did tonight made so little sense, especially, like I said, when they make such a big deal to continuously repeat this rule that they are continuously breaking in every segment. Only WWE can be this ridiculous. So I'm not giving the show a good grade tonight, purely out of principle, because you treat us like morons. So this show ain't getting nothing more out of a 6 tonight. I'm not even in a bad mood. I'm in a happy mood, but I am not giving the show better than a 6. It's just annoying. The draft is stupid, and it just was stupid. Everything they did tonight was stupid. So that's my opinion on Raw. And we're usually pretty positive on this channel, but man, this show is so stupid. Anywho, let's go over here to the chat and say hi. Can you guys do me a favor and get these likes up for me? I appreciate the count on the dislikes. That's what we want to see on every video. But the likes, come on. What am I, a J-Brone? Hook me up with some likes, and I'd appreciate it. I'm going to go over here and see if you guys have anything to say in the chat or questions to ask. I did not even glance at Monday Night Football tonight, so thank you for that update. Chargers beat the Raiders 28-14, it looks like. 3-1 is the count on both teams. I don't know. I wonder now if the rivalry is pretty bad between those two teams. It usually is between all California's pro teams, but I remember when I first moved here, when the Chargers were still in San Diego, and I was looking at the schedule, we were all going to go to a game. Some of the friends that I had, and they were saying, like, well, let's just not go to Oakland, because whenever Oakland's here, there's fights, and it's like a really, really like gnarly atmosphere in the crowd, and it's just like, it's where like crazy shit can happen. So we avoided the Raider games, but now both teams are in different cities, so I'm curious if the fans even give a shit anymore. But right on. Chargers won. Did Ellsworth get drafted? I did not catch that. He's probably going to get drafted tonight, though. We'll keep a lookout for that. We'll let you know where he lands. Probably prison. Sam Thompson, good to see you, man. Thank you so much. Jose, it did hit the spot, man, after a night like this. I kind of had to eat my words. I mean, I just personally didn't like the show because of the annoying, stupid shit they were doing with the draft. But one thing I mentioned over the weekend is that I felt pretty positive that WWE was really just going to have no choice but to provide decent Monday Night Raws for the continuation of the rest of the year, just because of Monday Night Football, the fact that ratings are kind of important right now because you have a competition. You've got a competitor out there that's, drawing numbers that are at least getting attention. And you've been providing shit TV for quite a while. You got to start changing things up and giving us better quality shows. I think the last couple of Raws were very good. This one, it's not like it was horrible, but man, some of this draft stuff, it's literally made for kindergartners. I mean, that's the only way I can describe it. It's just so silly and depressing in a lot of ways. But we'll see once these changes take effect. Overall, I would say so far with the names that moved, I think it's solid. There was a couple names I wanted to see move. Like I said, I think moving Damien Priest might have been fun to go over to SmackDown. Would have liked to see him go there. Wouldn't even hated the idea of Lashley going over there, although I can kind of understand why he stuck around on Raw. I like Apollo Crews coming over to Raw. I was hoping Cesaro would come over to Raw, but he did not. Trying to think if I was disappointed with any other move. Might have just, I mean, I understand they can't do that because of the tag team situation, but just for shits and giggles, it might have been fun to see AJ and Omos go to SmackDown because the house that AJ built might be fun to have that back for a bit, but they stuck around too. But I mean, overall, I guess I don't have very many complaints in terms of who was where, because at the end of the day, none of this matters. At the end of the day, nobody's going to say, oh, WWE fucked themselves by putting so-and-so over here instead of on that show. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. So I think the main thing you want to try to look for here is a decent balancing with the two shows. If they both have decent names at the top of the card and they got a good middle of the card, they got a good women's division, you also have to take into account that Raw is 1 hour longer. So obviously they're probably going to get a few more picks than SmackDown, although I don't recall them really mentioning much about the hour difference this time. Back in the day during these drafts, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't WWE like give Raw 3 picks for every SmackDown's 2 or something like that? Wasn't there some sort of little stip or rule that they did? They're not doing that anymore, even though the length of the shows haven't changed. So, like I said, they just make this shit up as they go. Mike Witt, you heard they're changing Alexa's gimmick when she comes back. I still think they're going to have to wrap it up, though. I think you're going to have to pay it off somehow, unless just tearing up Lily was it. And Charlotte now, at least right now, is on a different show, so there's no way for Alexa to get any sort of revenge there. So I think she might have to come out and announce that she's back as the old Alexa Bliss. Wouldn't it be weird if she just came out as the old Alexa like nothing happened? That's what they should do, actually. Like, we'll just think out loud here. Like, what if Alexa Bliss is off TV for a while. I believe she had to get some medical procedure done. So luckily it's nothing too crazy. She's just off TV for a little bit and she'll be back. So based on what we saw at Extreme Rules with Charlotte not only beating her, but tearing up the Lily doll, what if Alexa Bliss comes back as rumored, as a lot of people are speculating that when she's back on TV, she might go back to being who she was before. But instead of making the transition into who she was before, what if she just comes back as regular Alexa Bliss? And then when she's asked about this in interviews, she acts like she doesn't know what they're talking about. Like, what do you mean? What the fuck? Lily, huh? Like, what playground? What playground? Or whatever. You know, maybe they show her some videos of what she was doing, and she's like, holy shit, I don't remember any of this. I don't know. It might be fun. I don't know where you could go with that because Bray Wyatt's not around anymore, and he can't be used as any sort of source. So I don't know how they're going to do it, but we'll see when she comes back. I feel like that Alexa's Playground shit, she did great from a performance aspect of it, but once Bray Wyatt left, it kind of killed the whole thing, and it gave fans a really kind of sour taste in our mouths because of letting go Bray Wyatt and giving his gimmick to somebody else. And Alexa did so good with it at first, and I thought it had potential, but WWE killed it. They killed their own creation. So now it's just a matter of how do you get Alexa Bliss back from this, and what do you do with her going forward, and how do you make that transition? So if she did come back and just acted like she had no recollection of this and it was all a dream, that would be kind of cool. But, you know, then again, you're going to have to explain why she doesn't have any memory or recollection of this and why she had amnesia and doesn't know and has no memory of what seems to be some sort of a possession. That could be a great way to kind of keep it going and leave the door open for her to return to this down the line. Like, if she's completely oblivious to anything she did before, and maybe even Sonya and Adam say, look, Alexa, we're glad you're back, but you were really fucked up for the past couple of years, so we can't in good conscience allow you to compete in a WWE ring until you undergo a psychiatric evaluation. And maybe they put her through the ringer here. She goes and talks to Dr. Shelby or whatever. I don't know if they'd get as hokey as actually filming the sessions or whatever, but making her go take these tests and get some therapy and talk to a professional and then come back. And if she gets a clean bill of health and she's deemed of sound mind and body and they have the paperwork to prove this, then they can say, okay, we don't understand either why you were the way you were, but the professionals say you're fine. So welcome to Raw, but just so you know, we're going to have to keep our eye on you, but we can't stop you from getting in the ring. You are now officially on Raw. And then she's like, great. And she's just kind of Alexa Bliss for a while, but you could also always now tap back. Now you've left the door open. Now you haven't closed the chapter and you've got no closure on that. So now she can always kind of revert back to that, maybe even like 2 years from now. She can go on to being regular Alexa Bliss for a long time. And then boom, out of nowhere, just like the Demon. You know, she could be a lot like Finn Balor, to where she can kind of go back to this when times get tough. Although I feel like the character kind of got buried with what Charlotte did to her, but she could always bring it back, and she could bring back that side of her, or just a darker side, maybe not that specific side, but something more in the future. So I think that could be fun to kind of leave that open, and don't let the fans forget that Alexa Bliss did take a little detour in her life and career there, where she went through a very, very dark time, and you could always revisit that. So that might be an interesting thing to do with Alexa Bliss when they come back, because they should try to come up with some decent ideas for her. I thought it was the only match I predicted incorrectly on Extreme Rules. I actually thought Alexa Bliss was going to beat Charlotte for the title, but she did not. Mike Witt. Interesting comment by you. I want Pillman Jr. to turn heel in AEW and be the loose cannon like his pops. If you are living on the East Coast, you are now 11 minutes into the 24-year anniversary of the death of Brian Pillman. October 5th, 1997. That was it, and we are right on the anniversary of that date. R.I.P. Brian Pillman. That would be a cool nod to his dad. I think I like Pillman Jr. a lot, but when I watch him, I still feel like he's got some work to do. So I think like that's something he should do in his career, but maybe shouldn't do it yet. I don't think he's ready. I don't think he's experienced enough to tap into a very crazy side that his dad had. I think he needs more time in front of the camera. I think he needs more promos. I think he needs more ring work. And I think he just needs to age a little bit more before going into that. But in the future, yes, absolutely. Barry MK, what's up, man? Things are good. How's things? Good. Reminded me of some of the weirdest things I remember back in the day when WWE released all those when they split from Coliseum Home Video and they were releasing WWF Home Videos, and back in the Attitude Era, they were doing tapes on everybody like The Rock and Austin and DX. And they were always doing those, or I guess this was on Raw, they were doing those DX vignettes where they were going to CNN or whatever, and they were, of course, when they invaded Nitro and whatnot, but they did a deal where Triple H was going to get like in a fighter jet and fly around in a plane or something, and the rest of DX is on the ground, and X-Pac goes, well, if he doesn't come back, I'll handle things from now on. And Billy Gunn goes, what are you going to handle? And X-Pac goes, things. Just the funniest shit to me. I just got a huge kick out of that. So Barry, when you asked me how things were, you reminded me of X-Pac during his time in DX. Oh, wow, you were at Six Flags when Pillman passed. Yeah, I remember watching Vince talking about it on the free-for-all, and you could see Sonny was a fucking wreck. It was crazy. It was crazy. Deshaun, how's this? On Raw, before Crown Jewel, Charlotte brags how she's taking the belt to SmackDown, but Pierce does a six-pack challenge. Yim knocks Morgan, Zelina, Carmella, and Doudrop, with Charlotte facing the winner. That could work. But it's weird, though, like, Charlotte could brag all she wants about taking the title to SmackDown. If they have Becky and they have the SmackDown title, then they probably wouldn't care. Because Charlotte's gone either way. They would care if both champions were over there. But then you're putting yourself in a situation where one of those women could beat Charlotte for the title, and now Raw has both titles. So I think I want to keep this whole situation with these women's titles is least confusing as possible. So I think what they're probably going to do is that title swapping stuff that we talked about earlier on, most likely, I feel like. But I don't know, though. I don't know. Damn, you were 3 when Brian Pillman passed away, huh? I was 20. Yeah, imagine if Pillman wouldn't have gotten in the car accident. That's right. Because a lot of people, I just couldn't imagine having a healthy Pillman when he was kind of crazy like that. I would have just loved to see I would love to see him in like a DX Shawn Michaels butt heads, because Pillman would beat the fuck out of him in a real fight. And I always thought that Shawn, when it comes to being like kind of a ladies' man and being a little sassy on the mic, Shawn's met his match in Brian Pillman. That's for sure. But we never got that clash because Pillman, even when they were in the company at the same time, Pillman was injured. He wasn't the same. He wasn't the athlete that Shawn was. But back in the day, if you could put 97 Shawn against 91 Pillman, oh, Lord, that would be like really good. Liv Morgan taking the belt from Charlotte. Unlikely, but you certainly wouldn't get any complaints out of me. We always root for our family here on the channel. So we get any more, I guess, was that all of the picks officially? I know how Weezy had filled us in on those, and I don't think they've announced any more. That was all of them, and that just leaves a handful of free agents. Is that correct? Big time Bex. All right, I'm just looking through all these picks here, see if there's any. Oh, here we go. Here are the official WWE's released all of the picks for both brands. This is helpful in a graphic here. Yeah, Raw looks like they have many more picks. I think all these we know. Let's run through them there. SmackDown gets, these are in alphabetical order, it appears. Aaliyah, Angel Garza, Ashante Adonis, B-Fab, Cesaro, Charlotte Flair, Drew Gulak, Drew McIntyre, Eric, Happy Corbin, Humberto Carrillo, Isaiah Swerve Scott, Ivar, Jeff Hardy, Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso, Jinder Mahal, King Nakamura, Kofi Kingston, Mace, Madcap Moss, Mansoor, Mustafa Ali, Naomi, Natalya, Rick Boogs, Ricochet, Ridge Holland, Roman Reigns, Sami Zayn, Sasha Banks, Shanky, Shayna, Sheamus, Shanky, Shayna, and Sheamus. That's a mouth. No, it's Sasha, Shanky, Shayna, and Sheamus. Say that 5 times fast. Jesus. No, I'm sorry. Say Sasha, Shanky, Shayna, Sheamus, Shotzi. Jesus. You could even go one more and go Sammy. Sammy, Sasha, Shanky, Shayna, Sheamus, Shotzi. Damn, that's a mouthful. Tony Storm, Top Dollar, Xavier Woods, and Xia Li. Raw gets AJ Styles, Akira Tozawa, Alexa Bliss, Angelo Dawkins, Apollo Crews, Austin Theory, Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair, Big E, Bobby Lashley, Carmella, Cedric, Chad Gable, Commander Aziz, Damian Priest, Dana Brooke, Dolph Ziggler, Dominic Mysterio, Doudrop, Drake Maverick, Edge, Finn Balor, Gable Stevenson, Jackson Riker, John Morrison, Karrion Kross, and Helmet, Keith Bearcat Lee, Kevin Owens, Liv Morgan, Mia Yim, Montez Ford, MVP, Nia Jax, Nikki ASH, Omos, Otis, R-Truth, Orton, Reggie, Ray, Rhea, Riddle, Rude, Seth, Shelton, T-Bar, Tamina, Tegan, Ms. Veer, and Zelina Vega. There you go. And that does leave some free agents out there. John Cena, Brock Lesnar, Bayley, Andre. Nobody's picked Andre the Giant yet. Hopefully he'll go over to Raw. I think he'd be good there. You need a 3-hour show. It's going to take him a while to get to the ring. Right on. Let me go back to the chat. There we go. Yeah, Barry, I have got to look a little bit more into this New Day Undertaker thing. I keep seeing shit. Every time I see a link for it, I don't click it. I've only seen a couple of pictures, some sort of weird Netflix horror TV show or something where they're trying to escape the Undertaker's mansion. Did he make like a Home Alone type obstacle course and torture chamber for these guys or something? I don't know, but the New Day's trying to escape the wrath of the Undertaker, and a lot of people say it looks really cool. I've never been like a horror movie person, and I don't even like, a lot of people love Halloween. It's just never been a huge deal to me, like scary stuff or whatever, but I'll at least watch this. Everybody says it looks pretty cool. So if you guys get a look at it, let me know what you think and if I should watch it, but looks like it's super well produced. I know that. You know what, Mike? I'm not even sure what wrestling death I remember hearing about first. I can't recall what my first one was. Probably the one that I remember. maybe Grand Wizard, although I think I found out about his like a couple years after. He's just the first death I remember hearing about, probably because when he was on TV or when I saw a video of him, somebody said he died. I want to say Grand Wizard was my first childhood memory of knowing of a wrestler that died. Boy, would that list grow. Jesus, it was pretty dormant in the 80s. It was a little sad, Adrian Adonis and shit like that. And, of course, Brody. And I can't remember if we lost to Von Erich by that point. But then the 90s, it really picked up. It got bad with Kerry Von Erich and Dino Bravo and Eddie Gilbert and then Pillman and then Owen. And next thing you know, boom, floodgates open. Yeah, Joey's Adventures Ireland. The draft was missing a lot. I just don't like the way it's basically just phoned in. Like, if you want to pretend this is a draft, like, they just don't explain anything. They don't explain how these pools were made. They don't explain who's making these picks. They have, and another thing that annoys me, if you noticed when Adam and Sonia are out there at the podium, they have an envelope, which implies that both shows already know their pick. But wouldn't you want to wait and see what the previous pick is before, or whatever, unless this was all worked out backstage and what they're doing here, which is the truth in real life. But in kayfabe, unless they're making it like all these decisions were made during the day and this is a formality to announce to the audience at home who's getting who, which really in reality is what's happening because they are making these decisions backstage and just informing us. But are they trying to play it off like it's a real draft, like there's a war room in each camp in Fox and USA and they're waiting to see what the one show does before they make their next move? But Adam and Sonia are out there with an envelope like it's a fucking award show. It's like they can't. They're basically conflating the draft and the Slammies, and it's just and everybody when they would cut to them backstage, being in the little dimly lit corner of the arena, saying "Yippee, I'm on this brand now." It's just so weird. Like, try to make it different, and I don't even know why anybody needed to necessarily be there. If you made such a big deal about these changes taking effect, the wrestlers who are on SmackDown anyway shouldn't be on Raw at all. There's no reason for them to be there if the changes don't take effect. So, like, what the fuck are they doing there? When you get drafted to the NBA, you don't put the uniform on and run right out there on the court. You got to go to your training camp and shit first or whatnot. So, for them to go so far out of their way and to crawl inside every one of our asses to let us know 235 million times that the changes don't take effect until after Crown Jewel, only to bring everybody there and have everybody out on the show to be there before the changes take effect. Like, why even have that rule? It's just, I don't know who they think their audience is, but they obviously think we are nothing more than meat with eyes, because as long as you got a pulse, you should be able to figure this shit out, I guess. But it's sad. It's a sad state of affairs, Jerry. There's another name. Thank you for that, Stephen Harris. Asuka. God, I hope they don't release her. Actually, if they do, fuck it. Asuka will have a job anywhere. She can go to Japan. She can go to AEW. She will make money. I actually, in a weird way, kind of hope they do. Fuck them. They don't deserve her. But she's another one. When she does come back, she's going to have to go somewhere. And I think last time we saw her, she was Raw, correct? Weed Whacking Willie, you're one of my favorites in terms of account names. Thanks for the $2. I miss the computer generator drafts. I don't. I hated those even worse because that was a thing where they would just shuffle them and then like land on one like it's Press Your Luck from the 80s. No whammies. Yes, John Morrison. It's just so I just thought that was dumb too. I mean, the only way to really make this make sense, which it never will, is to, I think the best way to do it is to have the authority figures be out there on the podium making their picks. I think a couple times they did the random drawing right. I don't really like that. But I think they should at least, because it seems like they tried really hard at first when it was like Heyman and Bischoff and maybe even Vince and Flair, there was a little bit more of a back and forth there where one would play off the other. Now it's like they've just eliminated all that. And they're like, Raw selects this person. And then Sonya's like, SmackDown selects this person. They take the fun out of it, and they don't explain why some are drafted as teams, duos, or factions, and some are not. They don't explain when they do decide to split someone up, why they did that and why they were eligible to be split when other teams aren't. Like, where's the rules on the eligibility, and what makes you a pair and what doesn't, and how does this all work? It's because they don't even know how it works. They just make it up. Make it up, make it up, make it up. Oh, yeah, Wood Sunny Man. I agree. That would be a great band name, especially like for the 90s or something. Oh, that's cool, Mike Witt. You sent me a tweet of a picture of you and Foley from last week at a show. Really cool guy. Well, I got Twitter pulled up right over here. That's awesome. Look at him. You guys would make a great tag team. I love the dude in the background. What's he smoking? What's in his mouth? That's pretty cool, man. Got to sit down and chat with him, and he signed like a figure and some photos. That is pretty badass, man. I met Mick Foley in person when he was Dude Love, the first rendition of Dude Love in 1997, like right after he debuted as Dude Love, like the next month. Met him at a gas station, and he was very cool. He talked to us, and he was dressed to impress, as always. He was just in the gas station picking up a protein shake and whatnot to hop in his car and get on the road. Super cool, nice guy. I don't think he's really ever changed. That's awesome, Mike. And the draft in 04, yeah. That's kind of the way I wish they would do it now. But, like we've said time and time again, at the end of the day, none of this really matters. It does not matter where these people end up. I just don't even care because they themselves just make a mockery of their own draft when you're drafting people to specific brands, but then everybody just shows up everywhere, wherever they want, and champions. I mean, they're going to have to rectify the hit row stuff because now you got the NXT North American champion on SmackDown. So what does that tell you? Swerve Scott is going to drop the North American title on SmackDown really soon. They spoil everything. No communication in this company, I swear. Whoever's in charge of all this shit. The fans know better than they do. If they let the fans be in charge of storyline continuity, things would probably be a lot better. Yeah, Heyman and Bischoff, that was one of my favorite drafts when they were both on the podium. Is that the one where Heyman had the neck brace on? What was that? That was good stuff. And plus, they hated each other, and they kind of hated each other in real life, and it made just for terrific television. Really did. Elias wasn't drafted. There's another name. Oh, this company. Don't even get me. If I wasn't annoyed enough at WWE tonight, do they not remember that I think they forgot. I legitimately think they forgot that they ran 2 Elias vignettes of him burning his shit and his guitar and whatnot, basically saying Elias is dead, the way Dustin Rhodes did on Raw all those years ago when he burned the gold dust outfit and became like the born-again Christian or whatever. So they made it look like Elias is shedding this former persona, and we got 2 weeks in a row with this vignette and nothing since. How many weeks has it been now? 4, 5 since they ran those? It's like they're, forget it. Change our mind. What the hell did you make them for? What'd you film them for? And here you have a chance to draft him somewhere, and you don't. It's because they don't know what they're doing. They don't have their shit together at all. Jesus, man. You are all about some Greg Gagne, Mike Witt. I don't know why. I guess Greg Gagne, my only real true issue with him is that I remember him as a kid, but he never came off well, to me anyway, in like shoot interviews and stuff and whatnot. And I guess I can't even blame him. I mean, he basically just kind of held a grudge against WWE. And I think he's a little delusional in some sense in terms of like how big AWA could have been. when they had all the big stars and they had Hogan, but their biggest downfall was his dad, was Vern, and the way he did business and stuff. And they didn't have that type of ambition that Vince did. And basically they squandered and missed some opportunities. They could have been Vince. They could have been WWE if Vince would have been a little bit more with the times. Vern. Vern was guilty then of what Vince is kind of guilty of now in wrestling, because a lot of fans feel like he just doesn't get it. He does not understand at all what wrestling fans like and don't like. And he's kind of set in his ways, out of touch. That's what Vern was, extremely out of touch and extremely old-fashioned, and the wrestling business passed him by. And Greg, I think faults a lot of that on Vince McMahon, just because, if Vern would have thought of these ideas, Vern could have done it. It's Vince just turned out to be the one that came through and changed wrestling, and I think Greg was always super butthurt about it. But that was his dad. That was his family's promotion. You can understand. And I think it probably cost him a chance to be a big star. They tried to push him, was Vern's predecessor, but that never really panned out or whatnot. But so I guess I don't dislike Greg Gagne because I have super duper fond memories of the AWA. However, sometimes I think that he's just a little crazy, and I think AWA could have easily flourished with the right mindset in terms of where wrestling and just TV in general was headed. And I think Vince kind of realized that first. Oh, I know you are just being sarcastic about Greg Gagne, but you always bring him up. I love it. Greg Gagne for Hall of Fame. I remember when he teamed with Brunzell. They were called the High Flyers. I'm like, they didn't fly that high, although Brunzell could throw a hell of a drop kick, best in the business. And Greg was smooth, but he was lanky and tall, so he ain't flying that much. They weren't the Rockers. High Flyers, whatever. Yeah, I think Vern had plans to do national stuff. Greg has even told the story about how I guess CBS had approached them about doing a Saturday night special. So basically AWA could have had a Saturday night's main event show on CBS. And I forgot what the story there is, why that fell through. But Vince was able to strike the deal with NBC and get, once a month Saturday night's main events in place of Saturday Night Live, which I don't think I could have lived without as a kid. I don't think I'll ever be able to fully describe. Mike might know. Anybody else closer to my age might know. There was something about weeks when there was a Saturday night's main event. It had a different feel. Basically, like the weekend shows, superstars earlier on in the afternoon that Saturday would hype up a little bit the matches we would see later. And those Saturday nights when it would come on, it was just I looked forward to it. I would check the TV guide. You couldn't check. There's no device, no tablet to check this on. You had to thumb through an actual physical magazine, try to look that day up and try to find when the next show was, because it wasn't really easy to find. You just had to hope. And as a kid, when I was Saturday's main event started when I was 8 years old. So when I was 9, 10, and 11, sometimes I remember a couple of weeks there just watching, because there's no video guide either. So I remember watching all the way up to 11:30 just to see if Saturday night's main event came on or Saturday Night Live came on. And when it was main event, it was so great. And they would do those pre-show promos where the wrestlers would hype up their matches they were going to have that night. It was just such a special feeling. I can smell my childhood living room when I think about Saturday night's main event. So when one of those came around, it was like a big deal. It felt special. It felt big, even though it never really was. Very few title changes actually took place on Saturday night's main event. Demolition lost the titles to the Busters. There might have been an IC, and I don't think there was an IC change on there either. A couple of tag team title changes, maybe. And then, of course, on the main event was when they did the Hogan-Andre stuff. But the Saturday night's main event shows somehow found a way to be hugely important to a wrestling fan, while at the same time, at the end of the day, nothing really too crazy happens. Because these are late at night. and it's probably not drawing as big of an audience as the Saturday afternoon kids shows or whatever. So a lot of times you weren't going to see a world title change at 11:30 at night. So it was mostly just fun wrestling, and I would watch it like in the dark on Saturday nights when it would be on. It was just a fucking hoot. So I feel bad for those of you who weren't ever able to experience that feeling as a kid, because it was pretty awesome. It was pretty awesome. Yeah, AWA was on ESPN a bit. If I could pick one, would I go to All Out, WrestleMania, or Wrestle Kingdom? Right now, currently, I would choose All Out. I've been to a couple of WrestleManias. The plan was to go to Dallas this year. That's starting to look less likely because WrestleMania is going to be in LA the year after that. And I would like to spread the wealth and go to an AEW show. So instead of going to Dallas for WrestleMania this year, we're probably going to go to Double or Nothing in Vegas. That's kind of the belief in my head. I don't, honestly, as cool as Wrestle Kingdom is, I don't have a desire to go to one of the shows, not over something here. First of all, I'm not trying to fly to Japan. And going to a show there, I think it would be a cool experience, maybe even like a bucket list thing, But in terms of spending the weekend here, in the States with fans that I can meet and communicate with and stuff, I'd probably choose to be at All Out or WrestleMania, although I would like to be at like a Wrestle Kingdom or some big Japan show and be close and just feel the vibe. That would be super cool. So yes, it's something I'd like to do, but wouldn't choose it over a Mania or an All Out, to be honest. It would be number 3. Yeah, the Saturday night's main event. Well, before it was the first song they did, it was Obsession. You're My Obsession. Who sang that? I forgot. And then they made their own song after that. And I remember back in the days in the 80s during the shows, like after the show, they would run credits and they would play like Phil Collins and shit like that on when they would roll the credits. Great stuff. Turn up my mic. My mic is fine, bro. Opposite day. I know how to do my settings. Look at that. All the way up. I got all green lights except for one. All my levels are good, man. Opposite day, your levels are messed up. See, I can hear myself. What's wrong with you, opposite day? Anyway, I got to think about getting out of here soon because I got stuff to do and shit like that. So anyway, that's going to wrap it up for tonight's Raw review. Appreciate you being here for this kind of lackluster one, although the draft was interesting. The rest of the show, not so much. We will be back on Wednesday for the Dynamite Watch-Along. Looks like a pretty good card shaping up for Wednesday because it's Dynamite's 2-year anniversary. And we've got a big 8-man tag, and we got a really cool TNT title match between Sammy Guevara and Bobby Fish, which should be interesting. And, of course, the big casino ladder match, which we talked about over the weekend. My number 1 pick and hope for this thing is Buddy Matthews, and he himself tweeted out a little Joker card just yesterday. So a lot of people think it might be Hangman Page. I think it might be Buddy Matthews because I think the winner of this ladder match is going to get a title shot on TV, not pay-per-view. So what I would like to see is Buddy Matthews win the ladder match. You do a TV match in 2 weeks, Matthews versus Omega, and at the end of the match, Hangman comes out, makes the challenge, boom, there you go. You're all set for Full Gear. That's what I would do. So we'll see on Wednesday what winds up happening with that. And Barry MK, I saw that question earlier. I forgot to answer it. I did not like the Saturday night's main event from 2006 and beyond. Those were shit in my mind. I mean, compared to what Saturday night's main event used to be. If it was just a regular Saturday show on NBC called anything else, Colossal Tussle or whatever you want to call it, I could judge it separately. But for them to try to make that like it was, no, it meant nothing. I never even watched them, never cared. And they were all kind of just cheesy shows. They were basically, all those Saturday night's main events to me anyway, they felt like basically just advertisements for what WWE is to a larger, more mainstream audience and a bunch of eyeballs that might not normally be watching wrestling because it's on a major network in prime time on a Saturday. You want to put your best foot forward. You want to get your stars out there. You want to get Austin out there stunning all the McMahons, that sort of thing. I didn't think they were any good at all. So I preferred the stuff from the 80s and a little bit of the 90s before they went away. And Saturday night's main events were a thing of the past. It's sad. But anyway, I got to get out of here now. Thank you so much for being here. Enjoy the rest of your Monday and have a great week. Join us this Wednesday for Dynamite Watch Along. I'll probably hammer out a couple of mic drops throughout the week as well. And then the podcast for this Saturday is scheduled for regular time on Saturday. The Winged Eagle will be up at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. That's the plan. So you guys have a